Noam zivecha, asis chazek, vasis rapeh, v'hayasala, simcha salom, v'sich yemunah, rachamecha, v'chusana, al beinahu v'cha, ki zekama nixafti, liros meira, v'siferes uzecha, eile Hamdalibi v'chusana v'altis alam higalena ufros chavivi alai es sukas shalamecha Ta'ir eretz mikavotecha nagila v'nismecha bach maherehov ki v'moed v'choneinu ki me'olam Yananai nai 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 yananai nai 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 yananai nai 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 yananai nai nai yananai nai 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 yananai nai 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 yananai nai 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 yananai nai nai yananai nai 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 yananai nai 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 yananai nai 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 yananai nai nai Yananai nai nai nai, yananai nai nai nai, yananai nai 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 nai. Yanai nai nai nai, yananai 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 nai nai nai, yananai nai nai nai. Yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 L'chun ranan ol Adonai nori ol asur yishenu Armoim shona kutbadar, varmar am to elevav heim, v'heim lo yodu drachoi, asher nishbati bapi, im yavaun el menuchasi, shir l'Adonai shir chadash, Yismechu hashamayim v'sogel haaretz, Yiram hayom lo yaluz sadai v'chol hashebo, Oz yiranenu kol hatzeyar, Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz, Yishpot tevel b'tzedek, V'amim b'emunaso. Adonai malach togel haaretz yismechu im rabim. Ove Adonai sin ura, shomer nafshos chasidav, miad reshoim yatzileim, arzorot atzadik, o Yisraelim simcha, simchu tzadikim Adonai, v'du lezecher kodsho. Mizmar Shir Adonai Shir Chadash. Yiramayim lo tevel yoshveva nahar simcha uchav yachat harim yiranenu lifnei Adonai kiba lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek v'amim b'meisharim Adonai melach yirgazu amim yoshet kerovim tonot haaretz. Adonai Eloheinu atani som, el noseo yisolohem b'nerkeim, al alilo som. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ishtachavu lahar kodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, mizmar leDavid. Adonai lamavu yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech l'olam. Adonai oz lamo yitein, Adonai yavarech es amo b'shalom. Ay 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 lechadodi, ay 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 lekraskala, ay 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 penei Shabbos, ay 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 nekabela, shamar v'zachar v'dibur echad, ishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo seferes v'alisila, ay 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 lechadodi, ay 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 lekraskala, ay 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 penei Shabbos, ay 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 nekabela, lekras Shabbos lechuvenei lecha, ki hi machar abaracha, meirash mikedem nasucha, sog ma'aseh v'machshava techila, ay 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 lechadodi, ay 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 lekraskala, ay 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 penei Shabbos, ay 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 nekabela, mikdash melech ir melucha, umitzei mitzocha apecha, rav loch sheves be'emek havacha, v'hu yachamol alahayichem la, ay 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 lechadodi, ay 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 lekraskala, ay 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 penei Shabbos, ay 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 nekabela, Isna'ari me'afar kum milifshi bigdei sifartei ha'amim al yad ben yishai beis halachmi harba el nafshi gala ay 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 lechadodi ay 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 lekraskala ay 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 penei Shabbos ay 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 nekabela Hisarari, Kiva Arech, Komi Ori, Uri, Shir Zaberi, Kavod Alayich Nigla, ay, Lachadar Dil, ay, Lekras Kala, ay, Panei Shabbos. Ay, na Kabbalat, la seva shiva, la sekmalami, ma tishtachaki, o ma tehemi, ba'achasu ani ami, banim nasa, eratila, ay, la chadadi, ay, le kraskala, ay, panei Shabbos, ay, na Kabbalat, Vayulim shisa shar soyech v'rachaku kol mavala hoyech yosis alayech el hoyech himself pasan akala ay lechaderdi ay lekras kala ay panei Shabbos ay nekabala yominus malti frotzi v'esadernai Saritzi al yadish ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila ay lechaderdi ay lekraskala ay panei Shabbos ay nekabala Baruch Shalom Ater Shalom Yachad Simcha U'Torah Zaganunei Amsalullah Orim Alam Baruch Alam Ay Lechadardi Ay Lekras Kalam Ay Panei Shabbos Ay Nakabala. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back. A few reflections on incidents that happened during our time away, and then with a few gleanings from this week's parasha. So whilst we were climbing up a mountain in Wales, my wife received a WhatsApp. Now, it's quite rare to receive a WhatsApp in Wales because most of the places that we were staying in had no reception whatsoever. So she received a WhatsApp, and it turns out there was the sad news of the passing of Rav Adin Steinsaltz, who was a giant of Torah thinking, of making Torah accessible to the masses. It was his brainchild to enable the Talmud to be put out in a form that would be available to not just the Aramaic-speaking public, but also the Hebrew-speaking public, and that then was that spawned in its turn the Art Scroll edition of the Talmud, and furthermore then the next edition of the Steinsaltz Talmud, which was actually translated into English. But he was a real thinker, a person who wanted Torah to be spread to others. And I would like to honor his memory by sharing an idea of his about love. So he says as follows, he says, when many of us think about love, we think about being infatuated with another person, we think about being obsessed with another person, or being, or idea. But imagine this type of love, he says. Imagine the type of love that doesn't get shown in the movie, where the guy, he's absolutely enraptured with the girl. He's head over heels. Whether it was love at first sight, whether it was through many years of friendship, whatever it is, this person is absolutely in love with another. And so he says, I love you so much. I just want the best for you. I'm really not that guy. I'm really not that guy. Because you know me. You know I'm not going to be the person who can truly make you happy. But this person is the right person for you. He's the one that would truly give you something special. And so he stands aside from his own needs and instead privileges her needs. That's true love, says Rav Steinsaltz.
And he compares it to something that we saw when we were on holiday. So in addition to going to Wales, we also went to the Cotswolds. And the Cotswolds, they've got a ring of stones from very early times, maybe 3,000 years ago. And one of the large standing stones from about 500 BCE is called the King's Stone. And it's shaped in a very strange way. So it kind of goes up, and then there is almost like a little head on top, like a duck's head. And many of the archaeologists think the reason it's shaped like this is because most of the people that came to the King's Stone to see it wanted to have part of it. And so they chiseled off pieces of the stone so they could take it back with them. In actual fact, many archaeological sites, both modern and ancient, find this to be the case, that when members of public are allowed to go close to the item or close to the artifact, they want to take a little souvenir, a little memento. And in a certain sense, that kind of makes sense. So when we found ourselves out in a gift shop in the Cotswolds, we decided, you know what, it'd be really nice to have this little matching set of mugs. We'll just kind of hang on to the memory of this moment by buying a souvenir that we can use every day, and then that will keep this magical moment alive in the future. And you understand why you'd want to do that. You want to hold on, you want to have this other thing. You want to chisel off a piece, either of the item itself or of the moment. But true love, if you truly loved the history that is associated with 2,500 years ago, if you truly loved the mountains, if you truly loved another, you wouldn't be trying to take it, you'd be trying to look after it, to preserve it, to build a fence in order that no one else should take something from it. And so in this week's parasha, we encounter a prohibition that has repeated itself throughout the Torah, but in this week's parasha, it's almost every single chapter of the parasha screams out, don't do this. Don't commit idolatry. Don't worship idols. Don't feed the idol worshiper. Get rid of the idols. Get rid of the altars. Don't just get rid of their altars. Get rid of your own private altars that are no longer allowed now that we're going to have a central location for the sanctuary. If there is an entire town whereby the majority of the inhabitants are worshipping idols, that town has to go. That doesn't feature as part of Eretz Yisrael or Am Yisrael. That doesn't feature as part of the land of Israel or the nation of Israel. Idolatry is gone. And you kind of wonder, what was the desire for idolatry? What was pumping so hard, so far, so passionately in the veins of our ancestors that they need to be told over and over again, don't worship idols, don't worship idols, don't worship idols. And we've seen them do it. We've seen them do it with the golden calf. What is going on with this almost obsession with idol worship? And you might interpret it as this tension of love that is about me versus love which is about the other. If it's a love which is about me, it's about my control, my having, I love this, so then a God that is infinite, that is beyond me, that I cannot in any way have or control or opportune, it's beyond, it's infinity itself. That's a God that almost feels like it's the opposite of love when I define love as me. So let me choose out the ancient gods, the gods that provide me some semblance of control. Let me choose out the gods of fertility, one of the gods that was repeated throughout the ancient world. Let me choose out the god of the crops. Let me choose out some god that's going to give me a sense of control, a sense where I can have this. But if that's my approach to love, it's about my control, I can't have Hashem. Whereas if my understanding of love is not about privileging my needs, my love, how I want to love, but rather it's about privileging something, someone, some being, some else, some other. What do they want? Not I want this, but I want this. What do they want from me? Then infinities love is possible, is present, is meaningful, is tangible. Because I can ask now, if I truly love infinity, what does infinity want from me? And then there's a possibility of relationship. A sort of a nice way to hold on to this idea, differences in outlook, differences in love, differences in responsibility, is to compare possibly with a small story, a Western outlook, an Eastern outlook, and a Jewish outlook. So there's a Westerner, a Buddhist, and a Jew climbing up a mountain. Climbing up Snowdonia, whatever it is, Snowdon, whatever it is. They're climbing up the mountain. And they stumble across a glade of wild flowers. It's the most beautiful thing that they've seen. The scent is heady. The color is vibrant. So the Westerner pulls out his smartphone, takes a cheeky selfie, and then plucks the flower to take it home. The Easterner, the Buddhist monk, settles himself down in the glade of wild flowers, cross-legged, and meditates on the beauty of this moment. And the Jew takes out his flask of water and waters the garden. And in this pithy story, the question of how do we position love? The Westerner, it's all about, I love this, I want this, I need to have it. The Easterner, it's a love but without responsibility. It's an appreciation that doesn't demand something from me. And the Jew, it's a relationship which says, how can I support the existence of this other? We're coming soon to the month of Elul. The month, Ani l'dodi v'dodi li, I am for my beloved and my beloved is for me. The month of loving Hashem. As we prepare to express that greatest love on the most lovely and loving days of our calendar, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And so maybe a question that we can ask ourselves with the zechut, with the merit of Rav Steinsaltz's Torah ringing in our ears. What does Hashem want from me? How does our relationship exist? Not what I can take from it, not the benefits, all the good that I can yearn and seek out from my Judaism, because there's so much to be had. But think of that as the side benefit. It's like you go into a relationship, you don't go into a relationship thinking, what can I get out of it? You go into a relationship thinking, what can I give to this person? And when you have that mindset, the joy is immeasurable. You get so much more than when you were thinking about my needs. What can I give to Hashem? How can I be more part of his mission? How can my existence resonate more closely with how he would like me to live, to shine light into this world and to experience that love? Shabbat Shalom. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone on Zoom, and wish you